Hi guys, today we're going to be talking about nutrition in a nutshell. Nutrition is a controversial topic, so today we're going to be talking about what the most recent science tells us. As a registered dietitian student, I can tell you what we're learning on the front lines and what we know so far. Today we are going to be covering the following topics. You can pause if you'd like to read through them. As always, timestamps are posted below if you'd like to skip ahead. Please like and subscribe, comment below on what you'd like to see in the future. We're going to start by defining macronutrients. They are fats, carbs, and proteins. Let's start by saying, yes, you need all three of these. Man, I can feel the keto people coming at me already. This means no keto, no ultra high carb. If there's like an ultra low protein diet, don't do that either. Don't do it. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about carb. Your body's only fuel source is carbohydrates. Your body will convert fats or proteins into carbohydrates before burning them. Low carb diets increase your risk of all-cause mortality, diabetes, CVD, otherwise known as cardiovascular disease, hypertension, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, amongst others. Keto was originally used as a treatment for epilepsy in the early 1900s. As a healthy, non-epileptic individual, there is absolutely no reason why you should be doing this diet. In this short video, there is not enough time to talk about this, so subscribe if you want to see my keto video one day. Okay, rant aside, the ideal amount of carbs has been found to be about 60 to 70% of your total calories. However, it's worth noting that the longest living populations in the world tend to eat far more than this, upwards of 85% of their calories from carbohydrates. Okay, next, proteins. Our bodies use proteins to build new muscle and repair muscular damage from exercise. But did you know that our bodies recycle the proteins that it already has? This is why studies show that you only need about 0.36 grams of protein per pound of body fat. Obviously, this goes up to about 0.55 grams per pound of body fat if you work out a lot. Most people overconsume on protein, which can lead to kidney problems, liver problems, and diabetes. So yeah, the bro science of 1 gram per pound of body weight is out. I'm about 145 pounds. Yeah, that's right. I'm heavier than I look. I'm thick. I'm also fairly active, so this would mean that I need about 75 grams of protein per day. Overconsuming proteins, especially refined proteins like protein powders, lead to insulin spikes. Yes, that's right. More than just sugar can spike your insulin levels. While we're talking about protein, it's also worth noting that plant-based protein sources lead to higher blood protein levels and higher protein absorption. This is possibly due to the fact that plant-based proteins tend to be paired with carbohydrates and fibers, which help your body absorb the protein and break it down, whereas animal-based proteins tend to be coated in fat, which make it difficult for your body to break it down. Fat is absorbed in the small and large intestines, whereas proteins tend to be digested in the stomach. So when they're coated in fat, your body will just pass them straight down into your intestines. Okay, now on to fats. As I'm sure you've heard from tons of doctors, eating too much fat, particularly saturated fat, is bad for you. You need fats to absorb fat-soluble vitamins, and you also need to consume omega-3 fatty acids for heart, artery, brain health. They're just good for you. Besides that, they don't play a huge role in our bodies except to coagulate blood and clog arteries. Almost all Western civilizations consume too much fat. An ideal amount has been found to be about 11 grams or 15% of your total calories. What happens when you eat too much fat is the fat coats your vitamins and minerals, making them unabsorbable to the body, and they pass through you. So in total, you're looking to get 60 to 70% of your calories from carbs, 10 to 30% of your total calories from protein, depending on how active you are, and 10 to 20% of your calories from fats. These are the most well-supported and most recommended ranges for macronutrients across the board currently. Okay, let's move on to more controversial topics because I love getting dislikes on my videos. Okay, first let's talk about persistent organic pollutants, which are not even a nutrient, but we need to talk about them because we don't hear enough about them. Persistent organic pollutants, or POPs, are toxins that we put into the world because we are such an amazing species. We can't get rid of them, they're just there, and they increase your risk of all-cause mortality, diabetes, cancer, cardiovascular disease, autoimmune diseases. Pretty much any kind of disease can be increased or linked to toxins somehow. So obviously we want to be avoiding these. What foods have the highest amount of persistent organic pollutants? Well, 95% of our exposure to persistent organic pollutants comes in the form of animal products. Animal products tend to store persistent organic pollutant due to bioaccumulation. So what that means is you can think of it, everything has persistent organic pollutants. They're all around us. But when we eat stuff, we get higher levels. When a cow eats stuff, they get higher levels. If we eat that cow has really high levels by the time we eat it. Fun POP fact number 1. POPs are cumulative. So what this means is if you eat 100% of your maximum lead and 100% of your maximum mercury consumption within a day, these actually accumulate, which means you are way past 100% of your total POP consumption for the day. Fun POP fact number 2. The most exciting POP is called dioxin. It bioaccumulates in humans and causes tons of problems. And women can only get rid of their dioxin stores through one way, getting pregnant. When you get pregnant, many of the dioxin stores within your body go into the fetus and your baby is born with high levels. Additionally, it comes out of you through breast milk. So if you have high levels of dioxin, you're feeding that to your baby through breast milk. Then your child, if they are a girl, will eat animals their whole lives, accumulate dioxin in their body, and give birth to a child with even higher levels than they were born with. Until you get a whopping super dioxin baby. What? All right, scariest part of this video is over. Let's talk about refined sugars. Although carbs are good for us, refined sugars lack the fiber needed to make us feel satiated. This means we need far more carbohydrates to feel satiated. Additionally, refined carbs will make your kids crazy. Try to stick to whole grains such as whole wheat, whole grains, oats, barleys, quinoas, pastas, potatoes, whole grains that have fiber in them. On to the next one, saturated fat. Saturated fat plays absolutely no role in the body. This means you want to reduce it as much as possible. It is recommended that you get no more than 5% of your calories from saturated fat, but less is better. This means you should be getting no more than 10 grams for the entire day. This is equivalent to about the amount in half a cup of ricotta cheese. Unlike fat, cholesterol actually plays a huge role in the body. Luckily, our bodies make their own and don't need additional cholesterol added in. Try to consume as little cholesterol as possible and let your body do its thing. When you overconsume cholesterol, they tend to form spikes in your arteries, which can fall off and pierce your arteries, which is actually the #1 cause of heart attack. Your daily intake of cholesterol should be no more than 200 milligrams, although less is better. You get 200 milligrams in a single egg. Next is salt. You need salt, especially if you work out a lot. But most people get way too much salt. Salt itself doesn't cause problems, but it does worsen them. It's like gas on a fire. So maybe just take it easy, check how much you're getting. I'll show you how to use Chronometer later on, so stay tuned for that. Generally, when you crave something, you're craving a particular nutrient, vitamin, or macronutrient. The chances of your body being satiated by a processed food is very low. Processed foods lack fibers, vitamins, and minerals needed to help you feel satiated and give you energy long term. In general, try to eat whole plant foods and listen to what your body is craving. Okay, next is choline. I've heard a lot about choline recently. It was deemed essential just a few months ago. Our bodies make it, however, it's unclear if we make enough on our own. A 2016 recommendation saw that if you consume 400 milligrams per day, there were no adverse effects. Something that is worth noting is choline does break down into trimethylamine oxide, otherwise known as TMAO, a known carcinogen found in tobacco. So do with that what you will. There are no general studies on choline and cancer, but it does break down into a carcinogen, so that's worth noting. Okay, our next topic is fiber. About 97% of our population is fiber deficient. To make that even worse, they actually upped the regular fiber intake to 36 grams per day. It used to be 25 grams per day. So with the new recommendations, very few people are actually hitting their fiber requirements for the day. However, it's also worth noting that our ancestors ate about 100 grams of fiber per day. Okay, so yes, for the last time, red meat does increase cancer risk. All red meat, including pork, is a group 2 carcinogen. Processed red meats are a group 1A carcinogen. That means even if you have a fresh, grass-fed organic steak, it is still a group 2 carcinogen. Okay, so here's my stance on this super quick. Okay, so 50 years ago when the WHO released its statement saying that tobacco causes cancer, the tobacco industry scrambled to release their own studies saying that tobacco is okay, or it's not that bad for you, or it doesn't cause that much cancer. Realistically, they do this to create confusion. The same thing is happening now. Animal industries are releasing studies stating that it's not that bad for you, or it's not as bad as we thought. But realistically, it is. The science shows us that it is. I would rather have that knowledge, listen to it, and temporarily stop eating meat. Wait, 5 or 10 years. If they then say it's okay to eat meat, go ahead. But chances are they're not going to go back on what they're saying. The American and British Dietetics Association have categorically stated that a well-planned plant-based diet is adequate for all stages of life, including pregnancy, lactation, and infancy. So if we don't need red meat to survive, that means we can get everything from plants. To be on the safe side, maybe just stick to eating plants. If we can get everything we need from plants, why eat meat if there's a risk of cancer? There are no studies linking eating vegetables to cancer. That way you don't need to worry about whether or not meat causes cancer because you're not consuming it. I'm sure I'm gonna get some dislikes for this, but yes, all animal proteins are listed as a group 2 carcinogen. This includes proteins from dairy products like cheese, milk, yogurt, as well as all animals and eggs. These are listed as a group 2 carcinogen because they also produce TMAO when digested, and this has been shown to be carcinogenic to our bowels. So again, if we don't need this to survive, why not be on the safe side and just don't consume them? That way you don't need to worry. If you can't go fully plant-based, maybe just save them for special occasions, you know? Have one day a week that you eat non-vegan and the rest of the week, eat plant-based. Dairy is not good for you. Maybe I'll make a whole video sometime because there are just too many reasons, but just to list some, they increase your risk of prostate cancers and female cancers. This effect has been seen to be increased to a 302% increase when children are fed dairy. This is because any damage done to your intestinal tract as a child will propagate through life, making it way more likely that you'll get cancer in the future when you consume dairy young. Dairy has also been shown to leach calcium from our bones, which is ironic. Again, to be on the safe side here, you can get calcium from plants, collard greens, chia seeds, molasses, chickpeas, tofu are all great sources of calcium. And that way, you don't have to worry about whether or not dairy is good or bad because you're not eating it. I would much rather wake up one day and realize that it would have been okay to eat animal products my whole life than wake up and realize, oh crap, I shouldn't have done that. Or, oh look, my child has bowel cancer, that sucks. Was that my fault? I don't want to have that kind of guilt or feeling, so I'd rather just ditch those foods altogether. Okay, so here's the nutshell part of this video where I'll talk about how you make sure you're getting all of these things. So step 1 is choose a whole carb source to fuel your meal. This should be about half of your plate, and it should be brown rice, potatoes, whole wheat, whole grains, whole wheat pastas, quinoas, barleys, millet even, anything like that, some kind of whole grain to fuel your meal. Choose a plant-based protein source for your meal. This should be about 25% of the volume in your plate. For this, you can think of things like legumes. Legumes are like beans, lentils. Tofu, I guess, is kind of, I don't know, it's like a processed bean, I guess. Seitan, tempeh, oats are also good sources of protein, or quinoa. Step 3, choose a healthy fat source that is high in omega-3s. This can be chia seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds, hemp oil, flax oil, algae oil, kelp oil. These should make up a very small part of your meal. We're talking, again, 11 grams per meal, or about 15% of your calories coming from these fats. Try to avoid fish and fish oils as omega-3 sources because of the persistent organic pollutant content, as well as mislabeling. There have been multiple studies showing that anywhere from 70 to 90% of fish and fish oils are mislabeled. All right, step 4, add a fruit. Vitamin C tends to lead to greater mineral absorption across the board, and our body does not make it itself, so try adding fruit to every meal. When in doubt, add some lemon juice as it's very high in vitamin C. Add a wide variety of vegetables into your meal so that you ensure you're getting all of your different nutrients throughout the week. In general, leafy greens are going to be dense in a lot of different vitamins, whereas legumes are going to be higher in your minerals, and other colored vegetables will bring different kinds of antioxidants to your meal. So really, a wide variety is best. Spices are very high in antioxidants, not to mention the fact that they do increase the flavor and make your food taste good. Add a lower fat sauce to your meal to make it more palatable. So this can be tomato sauce. A lot of Asian dishes will have like different Asian sauces, which tend to be low in fat. A lot of Indian cooking will have some good sauces, again, that are lower in fat and very delicious. Check your meals on Chronometer every once in a while to make sure you're not missing things consistently. If you miss a few things one day or another, that's fine. But if you consistently see that you're missing a certain nutrient, maybe try to add those things into your diet consciously. Number 9, this is my favorite one. Make sure you're rotating through at least 200 different foods per year. So basically what this does is you have a bunch of different bacteria in your gut, and some bacteria are good at breaking down different things. You want to make sure that you have a good variety of those things so that you don't just develop things like nutritional sensitivities, like gluten sensitivities, or some people have like bean sensitivities. And a lot of the time it's because their gut bacteria can't support this. So eating a wide variety of foods will ensure that you don't end up with a lot of these digestive issues and inflammations. Okay, so 10, use chronometer. So here's the tutorial part. Here you can add the foods you're eating and see the nutritional benefits of macros and breakdowns. Just press add food and then you can search for whatever foods you want. Then you can hover over the macros to see the breakdowns. When you scroll over micronutrients, you can see which foods are contributing, which is kind of cool.